So yeah, I came to a show and I was feeling extremely inspired after I left. Hadn't done much in terms of poetry before then, but I went home that night and I started writing a few poems. Not all of them were fantastic to start out, but one good one did kind of come out of that same night, probably around 2 or 3 in the morning. So here we go. This is me performing for the first time, one of my first poems I ever wrote. I often worry about being enough. When I think back, I'd like to blame it on all the movies that show me that the men I try to be are the ones who get to see happiness. But after hours in front of the TV, watching men who I think resemble me, I realize they're all just actors. I tried my best to look good in a tie and vest, but all that was left was a white knight standing hand out in a world where all the rest prefer a night dark. So next I tried to be nice and smile, all the while I'm left labeled and thrown in a pile. And you say in my shoes you can walk a mile? See, everyone says that they want their McDreamy, McSteamy, Peter Parker, goddammit, even Bob Barker. What they forget to tell guys like me is that those actors on TV are nothing like me. They're just there to fill a fantasy. They're there to show you and me that that fantasy is as much a part of me as it is her. It's not meant to be real life. That's besides the fact. Maybe I don't know how to act. Maybe my movies taught me wrong. Maybe it's because I never learned how to write a girl a love song. But I will wait here. I will audition time after time, standing outside your window with a radio above my head, building you a dream house you always wanted in the place we first made love, giving you a place floating on the wreckage of a sunken city, or just imagine winning your heart like Ben Stiller playing Walter Mitty. It's a pity. I still don't think it's enough. I have another audition in 1 hour. I hope I'm ready. And I have one more for you guys. This one came a little bit later once I got a bit more of an understanding for poetry and a bit more of an appreciation for it. This one's called A Reminder to Myself. I'm new to poetry. Often I find myself in the middle of the night sitting at my white IKEA desk writing words that pour from my mind like a waterfall collecting strange rubble along the way. The rubble and salty water that crash onto the paper and write my words are a stranger to me. They remind me of my lack of wisdom. They remind me that I'm not even sure what poetry is. You see, it's in those times I always remind myself that poetry heightens me, enlightens me, it excites me. Poetry arouses me, it empowers me, and it levels me. Poetry is a voice in a room of oppression and depression. Poetry kills me, it hurts me, it bleeds me. Poetry is heavy air in my lungs, too dense to expel. Poetry is a voice in my head telling me I'm not good enough. Poetry is pain. Poetry is love. Poetry is that feeling you get when you look at the stars up above. Poetry is more than a feeling. It tears us apart while stitching it all back together. Poetry is the weather. Poetry makes no sense. Poetry is a sense. Poetry is not to be understood or forgotten. Poetry is that heavy beat in my heart right now.